I've been flying for, I've been flying, sorry.
I think I'm sorry.
Okay, we're recording now.
Congratulations.
Couldn't give it up to pay with something.
Okay, we're gonna open the meeting, how about 5:32?
Okay.
Sound close?
Sounds
That's
good.
what I have.
You might watch it on time for a change. Did you take a look at the minutes of last meeting? If you wanna look those over, if you haven't got a copy. Right there. Some of the council meetings, committee meetings, they will issue a, we'll see. Sometimes they just pop up and say, waive the minutes reading, which is, I'm learning some of the things that the general people do. So. If somebody's ready, you can finish reading them, or you want to approve them. Any questions, Jim? Since you missed most of them. Any? Oh, you guys both approve?
Yeah, let's go.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, as per usual, we will start with Gail. Let them.
Perfect. I will try to keep it short and sweet. You should all have a copy of Gail's update in front of you. Several attachments tonight that we'll go over, but starting on page 1, project 1, the runway reconstruction. The final item that was outstanding as part of the project was the 18B survey project. So that is now complete. All payments have been made, and we're going to remove the project from the update moving forward. The wildlife hazard site visit actually goes on to page 2. Final report was distributed to FAA, MassDOT, and the airport on the 4th of September. Thank you again, Isabel and Jim, for your input throughout that process and, moving that along. The FAA closeout was subsequently submitted on 12th of September, and final Mass DOT payment requests were submitted on the 22nd of September. So once, the airport, the city receives the final payments from FAA and from Mass DOT, and Gail has been paid on our invoices for the project, we can fully close this out and remove it from the update. So that project went, once it got going, went pretty quickly and smoothly. So no actions of the commission at this time. Any questions from anyone?
How much, was there a published version? Like we got the one with all the pictures on it here, and how much variation was there from?
So any, I can't off the top of my head tell you, but the, I would have to look at it. But all of the correspondence and all of the changes were summarized in a revision matrix that was included with all of their iterations of the reports. If you are missing any of those documents, I would be happy to send them to you again.
Well, I got the draft version is what this one is, and I was gonna say if you can email me a final version.
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Email's fine.
Yeah, I can send it to you again. I know everybody who was involved in the process was included in that email, so
Yeah, no,
on
I knew
September
that.
3rd, but I will send that again, no problem.
I just wanted to make sure I didn't see it, but
That's
that
okay.
could be me.
Yeah, no, let me resend it and yeah, I'll send that again.
Because then I can forward it sometimes I forward some of these things to not everybody has a computer that they can look at it on, but some of the guys that do, I forward it to
Yeah,
them.
okay. Yeah, that's no problem. I'll make sure that you get it. I'll send that tomorrow morning. So if you don't get it, just bug me, but you should get it. Let's see, environmental assessment and obstruction analysis, really the update portion is on page 3. So the airport and Gale Associates were informed by the FAA that they're actually changing the scope of the project a little bit. There have been a bunch of rule changes with the new administration that's come in. And so some of the requirements have become less stringent. So effectively, we're still going to be reviewing your fence project and your tree clearing easement project under the FAA rules, but it'll just be less stringent of a review. So with the full environmental assessment, what happens is you have to send a draft to the FAA, they do revisions, you have to do a public meeting and, get it all out, take public comments. What we're doing is we're removing the public review process, which will save the airport, FAA, everybody some money on the project. And then there won't be as many rounds of review, so a lot less back and forth. It's a shorter document. We still need to do the same research type of components that would be required if we did the full environmental assessment. So those things, the research part really doesn't change because you still have to show, show that how these different projects will or will not impact the environment. But anyway, so
operations also, instead of the environment, the environment, operations at the airport. So these trees over here, I see that the fence would go along that.
Yes.
Yes. So they would have to cut down all those trees and then put up a fence?
That's correct. So there are two kind of separate projects, but we'll talk about the fence, in just a minute. But the fence line, effectively, when you look at the plan that we provided, we've shown the fence line. Remember we talked in the master plan about all the imaginary protected surfaces around the airport. So immediately surrounding the runway, you have your primary surface where effectively you can't have anything obstructing or penetrating that surface. It's the same elevation as the runway all the way around, unless it's like fixed by function, so a sign or a light or what have you. And then coming off the side, so you have your runway here and your primary surfaces around it. Well, coming up and off the sides of the runway is your transitional surface. And that is a 7-to-1 slope. I know it's a lot of information, but we've made sure that the fence is not going to be penetrating that. So the reason that the fence is located beyond the tree line is because we have to make sure that it's outside of that transitional surface.
I just wanted to mention if that impacts that in any way. At some point in the future, we may have the Greater Boston Soaring Club operating out of here. And they have already talked about maybe taking down some of those trees. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, glider operations, because they
Okay.
like grass more than they.
Yeah, some of
Because it
their,
causes less damage.
some of their wingspans are 70 feet wide. And they, for the operations, they would like to actually taxi and then have another glider possibly land at the same time, because when they lose lift, they have to land immediately.
But-
So they've already asked me, could those trees be taken down? So that was my question, if
Well,
they were
that's
gonna
why,
be taken down anyway because of the fence at some point.
Yeah, if you move forward with the fence project, then, you know, those trees between basically where the fence line needs to start and then, you know, kind of 10 feet on either side is like your clearance area for the fence, so we'd make sure that that was cleared on both sides of the fence.
Cleared on both sides.
Yeah, and it would be, you know, any of the trees leading, you know, up to the fence, so you can get in there and everything else.
Okay, do
So-
you know well, that's probably a different question. How many feet out from the grass is the fence?
Oh, do I have that on this plan? Unfortunately, I did not.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're
I
fine.
see the fence there, but
Yep, it would be, let's see,
it's
about,
50 feet, maybe?
it's probably a bit more than that.
60, well, that would be great if it is.
no, it's gotta be a lot more than that.
Oh, from the end of the grass, not the end of the runway.
Oh, from the end of the grass. That, we don't have a tree line on this plan, unfortunately, so it's tough for me to tell.
Yeah, it looks like it's superimposed over,
Yeah, there's a
Over
little
it,
bit
but-
of a background image, but yeah, we don't know.
All right,
Is that a
well,
tree
just
line?
to be aware, they're already asking
It's a-
questions about.
it's a combination, this is part of the reason why I wanna see the wetland stuff, because the wetlands over there.
Okay.
I gotta look at all of it, kind of all in one, you know, each step here, because there's a lot of stuff that is, overlapping.
Well, it's a process kind of leads one thing to the next.
Right.
So again, yeah, I mean, we can get any information, you know, on the fence line that you need, that's no problem. In terms of where that's, you know, how far that's located,
And it's just a possibility, it's not a,
Well,
it's not a done deal
Yeah.
that they would be coming here, they're looking into it. And so, that might be something that would concern them if those trees were too close to the grass.
yeah, I don't think that's anything that we would explore as part of this project, but I mean, we can certainly provide you with the information that if there would be a beneficial result, you know, from taking down those trees, we can get you that information.
Yeah, if
Back
it
a
would
little
be
back.
beneficial, yeah.
yeah, but backing up just a little bit, what's, for the approach end of the runway, what is the slope?
We'll talk about that,
Okay.
when we get into the obstruction study report, which we're gonna get into
Oh,
in just
okay,
a
that's all the
minute.
instructions?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep, so we
No problem.
can actually dive into that,
Nope,
at
I
any
just-
point, we have, so we'll review the draft obstruction study report, and then, after tonight, we'll pass it on to FAA and Mass DOT as well, because they need to comment on it, and we'll review, the fence line plan, and then get your, feedback and preferences on that. So yeah, I will make a note here, Isabel, to get you the number of feet of tree pruning between the runway and the fence. So I'll get you that number, I can do that in the morning. You're welcome, yep.
And the environmental assessment plays a role in that too, because of the, where the wetlands and the wildlife and all that stuff are.
Do you
Because
fence over the pond, or you have to go around it? That pond up there, do you go it looks like a straight line for the fence, but there is a pond out there, so you're probably on the far side of the pond,
That's why I say there's a lot,
which is good,
lot
because
to
then all
this.
those trees will be cleared.
but I wanna, because that was done, I don't know how they did it the last time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll get into that, but you said you wanted to finish the environmental assessment?
Well, we can get into we can talk about the fence first, or the obstructions first. I don't care one way or the other.
It's all part of the same thing
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, it's all, well,
So-
it's all part of the same. So really just, I guess we'll just jump into the fence so you can ask questions that you have. The plan that you have in front of you is, really the option, if you remember from your airport layout plan, we had the fence line going completely around and enclosing the airport, or the airport operations area. And so, you know, we know that obviously there are wetlands out here that are shown, and there are, you know, the big thing that's coming into play too is you have what's called a priority habitat. And so that is indicated by, you see the hatched area, and it's like the lines the gray lines that go across this way towards the 3-6 end. So really it would be probably pretty challenging to permit a project that went through that area. And so the option that we're proposing is to basically cut the fence line off at that priority habitat area, completely avoid any impacts on that end. Because also, I know based on conversations with Jim and I think yourself too, Isabel, the deer seem to really be coming from the forested areas and not so much from the swamp. I know even when GZA was out here doing the delineation of the wetlands, they said it was extremely difficult to walk through that area. It took them much, much longer than they thought it was going to because, you know, just because of, you know, how the terrain is out there.
So they would leave the fence off at the end of the runway.
Yeah, so, and we actually have done a similar thing for another airport that had environmental. There was actually a river that prevented, you know, from going completely around the runway and closing the property. And they're going, I don't think they're constructing it yet, but it was approved through an environmental assessment. A very similar situation. They had a major wildlife issue, and it was determined that even having the fencing partially around the airport enclosing would be a benefit to the airport and to safety. So that's, you know, we're proposing basically constructing as much perimeter fencing as we possibly can while avoiding those areas. And I know there are some, you know, wetland impacts that are shown here that we'll certainly be addressing as we, you know, get into the that's called a CADEX, categorically excluded document. That's that kind of reduced review level.
That's also good for tow planes with tow hooks, to not have a fence at the end of the runway.
Okay.
So, good job.
Thank you.
How does the environmental, do they consider a fence construction? Or do they have to have setback from the environmental areas?
So,
I mean, like in Mass, I think it's anything that comes within 200 feet of a wetland has to have permission, and they will allow down to 100 pretty easily, and then under 100. But I don't know if the feet from a true, you know.
They do, but the impact is pretty insignificant if you
I
just have
know,
a
that's
buffer.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. To me, if we could get the obstruction out of the way, which is a hazard,
Yeah.
by carefully trimming and not upsetting too many things, but keeping the trim level down. I know when the last time they did it, it was just all the way up to the top of the hill. And you can see it's still out there, and the trees are getting very tall again. So I don't know how they did it the last time.
yeah.
I think I ran across it, I saw that someplace in one of the duffel bags that I'm cleaning.
So just to let you know, what we're proposing here is 10 feet of clearance on either side of
Yeah.
the fence line, or really 10 feet, beyond that fence line.
Because
So
so we
you'd have,
can clean it.
So you guys can maintain
yes,
it.
exactly.
Maintain it.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah,
that's what I was hoping for.
yeah.
we just-
Inside the fence is not clear cut?
Yes. No, we can
Yes.
make, anything that becomes designated airport property, I believe, we can do basically whatever we want. For the most part, as far as clearing obstructions and trees and stuff like that.
Well, you still have to
Outside of
comply,
wetlands, yeah,
right?
But then the environmental stuff does apply some,
it does.
but I
Yeah.
think that there's permitting that you can get. I don't know exactly how that works.
No, there definitely is, and Jackie, correct me if I'm wrong, there's not a significant amount of wetland impact as a result of this proposed fence
It's
line?
8,400 square feet,
So
which
you-
includes the fence itself and any tree clearing on either side of the fence. So 8,400 square feet total wetland impacts. That's not including buffer, that's just the wetland.
Yeah, because my way of thinking too would be to just try and get the airport designated property as far up the hill as I can. Even though we own all of it. And,
I'm sorry,
but it's
I'm not,
inside the fence. is
I'm
what
not
we-
following airport designated property. All of your property is designated for airport use unless otherwise noted.
Right, but we can't use it for airport stuff because it's not clearable, habitable, and wetlands. I mean, there's just everything we've talked about for ever has been.
Yeah. So it's just not usable is what you're
It's,
saying?
yeah, it's
right?
not, I mean, I granted, up the hill is not usable right now, but it's a great source for future expansion. And I don't know.
Understood. I think it's important when we're talking about these projects, we just, I understand that things impact other things, but let's just try to stay focused on the fence plan and do, kind of one step at a time.
Okay.
If there will be an overall benefit to the airport, to having that fence line cleared, that's wonderful. I mean, that's all you can hope for, right? But really the justification for this fence is the wildlife. So we'll confirm when we talk to the FAA that the wildlife hazard site visit report should provide that justification that you need, but we'll confirm that when we meet with the FAA in a couple weeks. But anyway, so the fence line really, I think it's shown as close to the airport environment as it can be with being outside of those protected surfaces and everything. And then as far from the wetland impacts as you can be as well. So, it's kind of for a straight fence line, the best case scenario probably here. So I don't know if there's any other questions, concerns, or if you all feel comfortable moving forward with basically evaluating the environmental, diving in more to the environmental impacts and selecting this as the preferred option, again, as opposed to doing a full perimeter fence, which I think would be pretty cumbersome.
Yeah, well, Pittsburgh's the one that you're talking about with the river.
Yeah.
And, it's impossible, you can't put a fence in the river.
No, and you can't put a fence in the safety area either.
Mm.
So it's pretty challenging. So if we need do we need a formal vote on this or just concurrence or?
These guys.
So just to, accept moving forward with this fence option as part of the, what's called documented categorical exclusion,
Yeah.
which is the essentially the environmental assessment project component.
What do you guys think?
I think we gotta go forward with it.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
We can go forward.
Good, okay. We are a yes. That was great. And Isabel, you think this one makes the most sense?
Yes. No fencing on either end, yes. Yeah.
Oh, we already got one of that in.
Yeah, but it's lower, hopefully that's not a problem, yeah, but down there, no fence, I mean, they're not gonna wander through the swamp to, swim through the swamp.
I mean, that's a pretty good start. You can get partial perimeter fencing with the exception of the 3/6 end. And if the deer still becomes an issue and you notice that it's like more prevalent, then maybe you do a phase 2 fencing project.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you very much. Just in the interest of time, let's move forward to the draft obstruction study report, the larger of the documents. I won't go through line by line, but I'll just let you know. You know, a lot of the information in the introduction is a duplicate of what we've already talked about in the master plan, just the justification for doing the project, and then explaining the different protected approach surfaces. Which you'll see on page 3, there are a couple different diagrams. So effectively, those are the dimensions of your a visual approach surface, and then we're providing an option for a non-precision approach surface as well. So we'll hope to go through those tonight and then have you select which options you'd like to do. So I guess just talking a little bit about the impacts of trees in the approaches, there's a lot of different ways that they can affect the airport in terms of, obviously there's safety issues. That's, you know, the big obvious one. But you have to think about things like your grant assurances. So every single time the city signs a grant with the FAA, you sign on to a bunch of grant requirements. And some of those grant requirements include safety and removal of hazards from your protected surfaces. So by leaving these hazards in place, you're actually not in compliance with those grant assurances that the city has signed. You also run the risk, if you leave them in place for a great length of time, of even potentially having to have a displaced threshold on a runway that you're already at the 3,000 feet, and I think reducing your runway length any further, I don't think would be a very good benefit to anyone. So those are really the 3 major things and major impacts of leaving the trees unaddressed. So when we're talking about a visual approach surface, or when you look at the approach plates, it's like the circling approaches. This is your minimum level of clearance that FAA would consider to be satisfactory and compliant. So this is the bare minimum you need to be focusing on clearing the trees in these surfaces. When we're talking about the non-precision approach, you get a little bit more, you can start to qualify for different approach categories, and when you're, so when you're landing, you can, have different, it'll be compatible with different equipment, and you'll know that those surfaces are clear. They're a lot more stringent than the visual, so that would be considered kind of the little bit of a step up and above what is required, but might provide some additional benefit to the airport. So just to get into what's out there, if we actually flip to the plans, I'll just start with figure 3. This is the runway 18 end. And this is your visual approach surface, so again, the minimum requirement. And you'll see that any tree that's actually penetrating that surface is in red, and then anything that's within 10 feet of that approach surface is within blue. So, we have listed here, also you have, let's see. Yeah, so everything's, relatively close in. I know there's some terrain and things like that out that way. And then it's a, let's see. So that's on your 1/8 ends. And then we have the step up of the non-precision requirements, and that's on figure 4. So you can see, that encompasses a lot more obstructions. There are things even on the other side of Route 2 there.
Oh, yeah. Because it's non-precision.
Because it's non-precision, yeah, exactly.
And the surface starts 200 feet from the end of the runway versus right at the runway threshold for the minimum
Yeah. And Jim, you were asking about the slope. So both of these surfaces, the slope is 20-1.
Yeah, I saw that in one
Yeah.
of the charts too.
Yeah.
So, oh, it's a lot, well, there's a lot on both.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a ton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trees
I
are
mean, you gotta ask yourself, is a non-precision approach like something that's needed here, like desperately needed here?
Yeah.
Well, we have the non-precision approach from the north, and then we have the circling approach from the west. And
So where I'm going with it, Jackie, if you don't mind me stepping in real quickly, is that, I'm looking at figure 4, which is the non-precision approach on the runway 18 end. So in order to qualify for federal funding to do the tree clearing, to get yourself into a position for a non-precision approach, you're gonna have to acquire abrogation easements over all the parcels that are underneath that approach surface that have trees, and you're gonna, first of all, get the abrogation easement, spend the money for the easements, and then you would qualify for federal funding to actually do the tree clearing to satisfy that approach surface. So really the question becomes, does the city, number one, have the funding for it? Do you have the stomach to go after, I don't know how many easements that is,
It's
Jackie?
14. So if you
14 abrogation easements, you know what I'm saying?
If you
That's-
turn to page 4, all the impacts are listed. So it'll show you the number of easements that are needed for each of these options, and then it'll show you the different cost breakdowns. And again, keep in mind, these are planning level cost estimates. We'd have to go through a whole scoping process to really determine what the cost would be. But this is a pretty good ballpark if you were to approach the city. So,
Put us out of business.
What's that?
Put us out of business.
Yeah, it's a lot.
so, yeah.
A lot of easements you have to get.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is, and just to give you a little perspective, when Fitchburg did it several years back before they did the reconstruction of their runway, we acquired 34 abrogation easements between the two different approaches. So it was a lot.
Yeah.
Mm.
And just, to put this out there as well, there is an existing easement off the runway 18 end that is in place. It's listed on your Exhibit A property map. It's actually could be outlined here better, but on the plan it's outlined in a green dash. However, what I would say about that is I dug into the easement, I actually read the full easement, and it's not entirely clear where it begins. So what's shown on here is an approximation of where that easement exists. So part of potentially an easement project that you would want to do is also have a surveyor go out and actually survey where you have rights to clear. And then that would give you a better sense of, do you need to expand an easement over one parcel? Do you have the rights you need? It's just really difficult for us to tell at this point in time because we don't have, we don't have a surveyed plan of exactly where those boundaries are, but there are some rights with the visual option that you may have to reduce the cost a little bit. But what I would like to show is worst case scenario. Let's say that easement is kind of null and void because things have changed, because requirements have changed. This is your worst case scenario. If you had to acquire 5 airspace easements over these parcels, this is really what you're looking at here.
Where would the funding come from to get those easements?
So the FAA will pay 90% of project costs typically. For right now, for fiscal year 2026, they're paying 95%. So you would have only a cost of 2.5% to the city. So this is, the funding year that we're going into. It actually starts today, starts the federal fiscal year. It's really a good opportunity if you're looking to do a type of a project like this to get, a reduced cost to the city.
Now, who does the negotiating with the landowners?
We do. Yeah, so you would contract with your, your consultant who is Gale Associates. We would go through the typical scoping process that we usually have, and we would do, we have to do you have to survey all the parcels, you have to coordinate with the property owners, you have to get an appraisal for each of the parcels, you have to have a review appraiser come out and review those appraisals to make sure that they jive. You have to hire an attorney to draft up all the paperwork, and then Gail would deal individually with each property owner and negotiate the price of the easement.
It's a big deal.
That's about 5 years.
It's okay.
About 5 years worth of work.
I don't know how amenable the neighbors would be for something like that. I mean, that's the factor to consider is like the community relations. Like, I don't know what these neighbors are like, if they would view that as an intrusion, or if they'd be amenable to fair market value for the abrogation easement.
We've never had a problem on the north end.
That's where, I was looking at that green line where the proposed one was in place for obstruction, easement area 9. That, you think was that Jim Lovell that lived off the end up here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here the hand, that's his property, I think.
Yeah, interesting.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why that easement was probably there. I don't know if it transfers.
Yep, so that's why
It's-
you get the easement, is because you'll have perpetual rights.
Yeah.
And the reason the FAA requires you to get an easement over a parcel rather than just like a tree clearing agreement is when they clear the trees and they pay to clear the trees, they want to know that you have rights to go back there and always be maintaining it. So that's the other thing you need to consider
Yeah,
too,
that looks
is
like it's
how
his
to-
property. And on the other side of Route 2, I put dollars for donuts at the south end, way out by Kendall Pond. Is, some of that's owned by Banker Charlie.
Yeah, I don't know how big his lot is.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good sized lot, because that's the back way into PA.
Yeah.
So, there's a possibility that we can not have it be super what's the difference between page 3 and 4 as far as one's,
So 3 is your visual approach surface.
okay,
So the surface starts right at the runway end and goes 20 to 1. It's a much skinnier surface. It's 250 feet wide at the starting point.
there's 2 markers, 2 dotted lines on each.
Yep,
side.
so the dotted lines on either side, that's a good point, I should have pointed this out before. The dotted lines on either side are a 50-foot buffer. So when we negotiate an easement, it is standard practice to also negotiate a 50-foot buffer on the easement, because suppose you have a tree that's right on the edge of the approach surface, or right on the other side of the approach surface, but the branches are encroaching into the approach surface, you want to make sure you have the rights to take that tree. So that's why you put the 50-foot buffer zone in there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's just an added layer of protection to make sure that you have the rights that you need if you're going through this whole process. And then, moving on to the runway 3-6 end, the last 2 figures, it's, the same surface dimensions and the same starting points and everything. And you can see that the obstructions that you have, figure 5, they go pretty far out.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's a hill there too, correct?
Is that the sand pit way up there?
Yeah, there's a sand pit out there.
I did a,
Yeah, most of that's in Hubbard Street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I have approached, I haven't talked to him yet, but I did put in a request to the town manager in Hubbardston, because they're working on a housing development in the sandpit area. And I'm not sure if
Oh,
it's
really?
this one or another one, and it goes along with the one that's over by the PA on the other end, is another housing development. And I just wanna make sure that they know that they're on the approach end of each of the runways. And
Smart.
I wanna start it right now. I've started, whenever I see something like that, I always.
Are they within any of these areas that we have identified?
I would say that if it's that sand pit, yeah.
Because you may wanna kindly request that they impose,
Height
height restrictions or navigation easement before they develop them and sell them, so that we don't have to go through the exercise of purchasing this stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay.
And doing this exercise that we're doing now, that you're gonna ultimately
There's a
have
part
to.
of a deed,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. Because this is a bigger area than I had thought. But if you stand down there and look out, I'm trying to figure out what's right off the end of that. We run into wetland problems down there.
You could have shrubs there, low lying type of shrubs. I mean, that stuff grows up pretty quickly.
It could be anything,
Yeah.
could be cattails.
Yep.
That literally have grown
Yeah.
to a certain height that got.
I don't know, the red area is, the ground does come up out there, and I think it's partly through the swamp, that red area is, I don't know, there might be some trees on it. But the one over on the other side where the large area off the 3/6 is the hill.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, just directing your attention, if you flip one page back to page 5, these are the tables that show you all the different impacts. So square footage of everything is on here. It's, I think the important part is the numbers, the cost estimate. That's really what is probably the driver for everybody here. So.
Because I know a couple of the pilots would love to have even a precision approach, but that would even mean lower.
Oh god, that would be. I
You
think you have to buy the half
you
the
have to-
town.
Yeah.
Would you have to put in you'd have to do a lot of landscaping,
You
right?
need some like ILS system
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
But I find it kind of unusual, because you see some of the airports near the cities and stuff like that. It's crazy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but so be it.
And I know it's a lot of information to digest, and we've been talking about this for quite some time, getting actual construction information, so that you can really have an understanding of what is out there, what the impacts will be if you do not at least do the minimum. But I'd be happy to take any questions, concerns, hoping that we can, just like we did with the fence, maybe talk about the preferred options, because these do ultimately, the purpose of this project is to evaluate it from an environmental standpoint. So we need to do that, that documented
I think
CADX.
there's gonna be mediation with the environmental and safety. I think it's going to come down to the fact that hopefully they will allow us to cut the trees down.
Who, the environmental? They will, for tree
Yeah.
clearing, they definitely will.
Yeah.
We've permitted a lot of tree clearing within environmental habitats, including vernal pools, significant vernal pools. We've done it on Cape Cod, which is a sole source aquifer, so for safety
Okay.
projects, for transportation, federal aviation, we've been successful in doing that. I'm not saying
Okay.
that it doesn't come without its challenges, but.
Yeah, because that's, whenever I look at it from the way people, you have to build houses and stuff like that, that's the challenges that go through by everybody, basically.
Housing's usually, yeah, when you start introducing
Yeah, pretty much.
federal requirements for air navigation and the FAA requiring that this be done, that usually gives you a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
And obviously, you look at things like best management practices
Manual might not be
and
there.
things like that, so.
Yeah, okay,
Yep, and
Well-
also, you know, another thing, and I know we've talked about it in the capital improvement planning meetings and stuff like that, is, keep in mind, so we'll go through this, you know, environmental process, and then you also should think about your vegetation management plan, and that will kind of pave the way for making your local permitting, a lot easier. So it should be, you know, we should plan for that as well. So that's included in the overall cost estimate here, as one of the line items. But I would hope maybe to talk about, your preferred option in terms of, would you like to, on each runway end, would you like us to evaluate from an environmental standpoint, the visual or the non-precision, and go with either one. My recommendation would be to evaluate the non-precision approach, because it's a lot easier to back off and say we're gonna go with the less stringent option when you actually apply it. So you can evaluate the non-precision option as part of this environmental assessment, but then ultimately maybe when you get down the road to actually doing the project and doing the easements and what have you, you know, you could reduce what you're looking for, you could reduce it to the visual. So I don't know, Matt, if you have any concerns or.
No, I think that makes sense from an EA perspective. That's one way to look at it. Then you have your capital improvement program, your CIP, which is, when's their meeting?
Their meeting is 2 weeks from today.
So 2 weeks from today, you're probably going to want to have a better plan in place as to whether or not you're going to go for abrogation easements, that you can do future tree clearing, and like I said, whether or not the city has the funds and the stomach to go after multiple abrogation easements for a non-precision approach versus going after easements and tree clearing to maintain just your existing conditions and basic requirements.
That's above my pay grade.
And that's,
So I guess to keep the conversation focused to what we need for the environmental analysis, can I request a discussion or confirmation so we can move forward with the environmental piece of whether you'd like the visual evaluated or the non-precision?
Personally, I think we should go for the non-precision approach because it's the more stringent. And then back off, it's gonna be easy to back off than it is to,
But yeah, it's always easier to cut back.
if you know, negotiate.
Yeah.
But, you know,
That way, if you decide to, you know, if you evaluate the visual right now in terms of your environmental assessment or your really CADX,
not much.
you'd have to, and then you decide you want to do the non-precision, you'd have to go back out and redo your CADX document to, you know, to evaluate that, so, which I wouldn't want to see happen.
Yeah, from 1/8 standpoint, it's not bad. It's the 1/3/6 approach that's more expensive by a considerable amount of money. And it's,
A lot more, yeah,
there's a lot more terrain.
yeah.
Who knows, maybe we'll trigger somebody to do tree harvesting. Selling firewood.
Yeah, they could always expand that sandbank, that hill might not be there in a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
That's true.
Well, to a point, when the environmental people get a hold of it, they don't want you moving any dirt. But,
That'll be their problem, not ours.
They did
But
that
it's-
in Milford, New Hampshire, they took the whole side of the hill down.
Oh, yeah.
On
but, yeah,
gravel pit.
but there's a lot, yeah, like you said, a lot of information.
Right, and I think from a practical standpoint, I mean, you certainly have some time with the obstruction piece to, you know, to look at it and digest it and ask any questions. But would you feel comfortable moving forward with evaluating the non-precision for each of those runway ends from an environmental standpoint?
I would.
I would say yes to non-precision. Like we said, it's easier to back off. Pretty hard to negotiate with people and then go back and say, oh, well, we need more.
Yeah,
especially the environmentalists and the feds, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so, my plan moving forward is we'll take the fence project that we talked about, and we'll take the 2 non-precision options for each runway end, and we'll start processing those and putting those into the categorically excluded documented CADEX report. So you'll see that, you know, coming up at some point the next several meetings probably. And then what I'll do also is I will forward the draft obstruction study report to FAA Mass DOT, just so that they can review and comment and let us know any, you know, concerns that they have or see. Any questions, comments, anything about this project? Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Last piece of information that I have is the airport's capital improvement planning meeting is going to be held virtually. Jim, Isabel, I believe you were both included on the invite from
Yeah, I got
Jonah.
that printed out.
Good. Okay. So the Mass DOT CIP, I provided a copy of the letter just for, you know, just for your information. Right now, there are placeholder projects in here that we talked about last year. They have wildlife fencing, snow removal equipment building, and land acquisition. Given the discussion that we've had this evening, our recommendation would be to kind of reevaluate the priorities here in the CIP and maybe place a 2026 project as you know, acquisition of the easements, and then also maybe your vegetation management plan. And then you could do your phase 1 tree clearing, which would be the design. You could probably do your VMP and the permitting too, but might be good to get it done early. And then 2028, you know, put your tree clearing actually in there. And again, the CIP has changed from year to year. You have, you know, opportunity to, you know, negotiate and think about those things. I know, Jim, you mentioned.
So you're gonna hold up on the fence, or?
What would be, what's you guys' priority? I mean, I think the FAA is probably gonna make you clear those trees at some point, or they're gonna threaten to displace your thresholds.
Right.
If the fence can hold off a little bit longer, then it would make sense to get easements, do design bid, permitting for tree clearing, do tree clearing, then do the fence.
I would like to see the tree clearing. I just don't know how the city is going to get the local share. You know, that takes a lot of effort.
It does, that's always a
Council
challenge.
has to
Yeah.
approve it, and they've got a lot of other things on their minds, you know.
If you, I know, Jim, you had mentioned, you know, talking to them about the budget and things like
Right.
that. If you need assistance in terms of providing the background information, the justification, anything like that, you know, we'd be
Yeah.
happy to assist you in any way to, you know, give them whatever information, and Isabel, you too, whatever information that they
Well, the
need.
local share on the $1 million project, you know,
Yeah.
But
what
the-
that is, and it's just, it takes a lot of planning for them to come up with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how,
I think there's a lot of different avenues that I don't know anything about too. And I think that because we're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. In other words, we need more hangars.
Mm-hmm.
We need a equipment building.
I know.
well,
We need, you know,
if I
and some pieces.
interrupt, yeah, that's a good segue into, if we get the Great Boston Soaring Club here, they have as much as 40 flights a day on some days. Now, would extra traffic improve our FAA funding?
Well,
Not
necessarily.
not to the level, yeah, not to the level that would
we-
increase the funding amount, yeah, it's
Okay.
unfortunately.
where I see the biggest problem is here again, our ability to generate some income. somehow. And having the soaring club here would definitely be an entertainment factor, would allow for, you know, the food trucks and all the party animals. It seems to be the phase of everything. Every weekend there's a party going on somewhere. And so, you know, it's just, how do we move both of them ahead, but not close the airport because the trees grow in? I've got to look back. I think there's something in one of the, I've talked to a couple of people, and we have local companies who do that, a company that does that, and they did it the last time. And believe it or not, they could probably do it in a week. I mean, it's really amazing, and they actually paid us some money.
Well, and if you have an avenue for doing that, you know, outside of AIP funding, again, all of these projects that we're doing are assuming that you're using that FAA funding, which
Right.
has all of these, you know, stipulations and requirements and things like that. So, I mean, if
I
the city,
don't know if it was done outside of it or not. That's the part I'm trying to
Yeah.
find out now, because it was a long time ago, almost 20 years ago.
yeah, well, the other thing is if the FAA has paid money to clear trees on any of these properties, which I don't know what the history
They
is
have,
of.
I think, because that's
Okay.
where that easement came from.
Okay,
Because the gentleman who lived there had a plane.
okay.
He kept it there and texted it up the road to bring it to the airport.
Yeah.
And so, it, you know,
Yeah, they will not pay to clear previously cleared areas, but there are other avenues for that as well. So I know Mass DOT has contributed funding in the past to clearing areas that were.
will we mention this to them in the capital improvement meeting?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And talk
They'll
about
ha-
all the
they'll
things
have-
that we gotta do.
They'll have a copy of this report already, so hopefully the folks at the FAA will have had an opportunity to at least peek at it, and have an understanding of what's out there. Same thing with Mass DOT. So, yeah, so they'll be aware of
I
it.
have, yeah, and there are a lot coming down the road.
Yep.
I don't know if any of it's gonna make it, but as far as aviation in general, and so it's gonna be interesting. Okay.
That's all I have for this evening. Just think about that capital improvement plan meeting coming up in a couple weeks.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's plenty of information and we'll have a great discussion then. But of course, reach out to me at any point in time with any questions, concerns that you have. Otherwise, I'll move forward as we discussed, and I am available for
Okay,
Alrighty.
very good.
Thank you all for your time.
Well, thank you. Very informative.
Yeah, it's
We appreciate the input.
definitely a lot of,
Quite the eye opener.
yeah.
Yeah.
And people,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, especially when it's gonna be required.
Oh, yeah. Well, sooner or later, we're gonna have to.
Growing,
Yeah.
and we have to
Yeah.
do something.
True.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, the city hasn't been preparing for that, because they're not, you know.
Well, I guess we need to put the city on notice.
Well, that's what I've been trying to do, whenever I talk to anybody, but,
Well,
you know,
this report will be, once we finalize it, which I wouldn't imagine it'll take too long for, you know,
yeah,
FAA and Mass DOT to review, you know, 4 plans and 4 pages.
yeah.
So hopefully, you know, once that's finalized, I would certainly, you know,
Okay.
I mean, I would approach the city as soon as possible and let them know that you have trees.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that's what I
I
was
think they
waiting
know,
for.
I just don't worry about it.
I wanted, yeah, well, you know, that's why I was waiting for this to come out,
Yeah,
because it's the only thing I can say, this is our problem.
yeah,
This is what we've estimated and what we're gonna do.
yeah, and
Now-
it's on paper, it's all outlined,
That's
it's,
exactly what I need, facts.
Maybe
Yeah.
we should invite some of the city councilors, whoever oversees the airport, to these meetings so they can
They have been,
they have,
past Isabel has invited several, and
who oversees the airport, which commissioners?
Welfare.
yeah, both the Public Welfare Committee, I think. But it's like the one it's the finance committee is what we're
They
going for.
rotate, they're different each year, they switch around.
But they,
Yeah, please.
That's just a template cost control.
Yeah,
we
Can
get
I,
both towns.
can I go?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I repaired the automatic gate. The loops in the asphalt had a nick in them, and they were sporadically working, both on the inside and the outside. There's the invoice that you guys approved last month to have it repaired. It's been repaired, and the price was $2,700.
How much?
$2,700. That was taken out of the repair and maintenance budget, which is $48.75. Also, so that's done. It had, they used a asphalt cutter, cut out all the wires and all the loops, pulled out the old wires, put in new wires, reattached them, and put sort of like a rubber cement type thing over the top of it. And it works fine.
Has to
So
be
we shouldn't have any more problems with it. It should work good.
It wasn't gonna get better by itself.
No, it wasn't. It had to be done. And we've lubricated the chain, which was very dry, and that needed to be done.
Yeah, I've done it a couple of times, but I haven't.
Yeah, the yearly maintenance of the fire extinguishers has been completed, and I bought one new fire extinguisher for the exterior of number 10 outside down there, so the tenants can have access to it if needed. It's closer than some of the other ones.
With a case?
Sorry?
With a case? To protect it from
Well, they wanted $500 for a case, so it's like it's a plastic insulated thing that goes around it. I wasn't gonna pay $500 for a
Yeah,
case.
no, I'm
This is the bill. It was from North Central and Templeton, $282. That's paid. The yearly maintenance on the fuel tank and system has been completed. Everything is working properly. He did all his normal system checks, tank checks, sign checks. He comes in here and checks the control system. Everything's working fine. The only thing that wasn't working that I had told him about was the sump pump in the back. The diaphragm had all calcified. And that hadn't been replaced for probably 3 years. And so I had him replace it. I bought a new one, which was like $125.
Where's the old one?
I don't know where the old one is. He said those only last for a couple of years, and we've scraped it out and cleaned it and lubricated it multiple times.
I can do it in about an hour.
It's still not working. We have a new one for $125. So he put that in, and it's working fine, and now my arm is not broken from yanking on that. So
You don't?
that's done, and I don't have the bill for that yet, but we know approximately what it is because it comes every year.
Yeah, because that's,
Yeah,
Right.
we're getting low on our fuel. We have 1,300 gallons left. Last month, we sold 839 gallons of fuel, and we made $4,668.4, which we are required to give to the city, back to the city, which I wish we could keep, but they take it. And the month before was 600 and some odd gallons, so I don't know if you want to take a look. Andy's already seen it.
yeah,
I thought that we had made arrangements with the city that we could keep the money from the fuel for our budget.
it's in our, no, it's in our budget for the, for fuel. It has to go into the fuel account.
Yeah. And we
That's the way
accumulate
it was
about
always- that's why Kenny
15,000.
told me about it too.
Yeah, we
The fuel
accumulate,
money goes into the account and makes up for the fluctuations in the price of fuel.
right, and we need, about $15,000 to buy 3,000 gallons of fuel. And I would recommend that we, in sometime in October
usually-
or early November, get another 3,000 gallons because we'll be getting low. If we're on track to sell 600 or 800 gallons also in October, we'll be below our low point.
It drops off pretty quickly. Over the years, I haven't felt like we should store.
Yeah, and that shows the fee that the
Yeah.
company takes, and we give them the net back.
And I think
So
they
we have
pay,
signs over there to prevent people from throwing their fuel on the ramp.
I'm gonna make something
It
up.
should
Well,
be-
maybe we can get a sign.
You got a sign made?
yeah,
What
we need
should
a lot
it
of
say?
signs around, but
Don't dump
they
fuel on
they don't, most of them use the, what's the, Gatsby jar,
Gas, yeah.
Gates jar, Gats jar. Just about everybody I know uses one to, and dump it back in the tank, because it filters out the water in any part of
They're
it.
dumping it on your apron right now.
Huh?
They're dumping it on your apron.
It might be a
right now.
mistake.
I'm sure there's a few. that-
There's some
That
storage
nozzle
to it.
comes out very fast, and they may just.
Could be.
Yeah, most of it I've seen has been spillage.
I don't think they're purposely dumping it on there, but I think a sign would be good.
Yeah.
What should it say? Don't dump any fuel.
Right.
Dear incompetent bastard. So,
Not dump any fuel on our brand new Brinker.
That fuel is eating our ramp.
Well, they're not,
You're asking people to read.
yeah,
This meeting's being recorded.
Anyway, I was happy that we sold so much fuel. That's
yeah, quite a
wonderful.
bit,
That's a lot.
yeah. It is for us, it's a bunch.
Is that because it's the gliders were here?
No, because the weather's been nice. They
I was
got a
thinking.
couple, they got some gallons for their ponies, but we've had a lot from Sterling, Crow Island. We've had some Pittsburgh people come over. Had a lot of activity lately.
It was busy here yesterday.
Yeah, and Saturday was busy. Yeah, it was just beautiful.
Oh, yeah, it was gorgeous yesterday.
Yeah, and, yeah, we're competitively priced, so,
we're about middle of the road, I guess.
Okay. Somebody had the wrong top on the airplane, I could hear him all the way around the loop. He had the wrong pitch or something. Sounded like he was climbing constantly till he cut it to come in.
Yeah, they have,
That's no big deal, it's just. We took out of here about 8 o'clock last night too.
yeah. Okay, and that it, Isabel?
yep, yeah, I mean, I should wrap it up quickly since it's 27. But, yep, that's really basically it. I mean, we met a couple weeks ago, so you've already seen the Templeton Light Water. You saw that last time. The associates got a bill, they got 2 invoices paid this month. And, what's your thing? Oh, QT Pod, we already talked about that last time.
Oh, when
That's,
they did the maintenance, they replaced the filter
yes, they replaced the filter,
with ours,
yes, with ours,
and we've got another one to,
yes.
just in case we need to do it.
Yep,
Good, thank you.
so that's it. That's it.
Okay.
Oh, and we need to get Gale Associates contract in the works again.
Yeah, I think that's with the council or something that's gonna go.
Purchasing department would like you to say yes, and then we'll get the paperwork together, and then it has to go through the council.
Yeah, so it's for
Because
purchasing, because it's an excessive,
it's in excess of,
it's in excess of our limit.
yes.
Would it go 5 years, was it? 3 years?
I don't know how,
If
I have no
it's
idea.
greater than 3 years, it has to go through city council.
There again.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the last one was.
I'll send it over to you. I have it at the office.
That would-
We'll take a look at it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll get it over to you.
Okay, and then we can, get that sent up to the council, if that's, or over to the
It
purchasing.
takes a while, because it has to be redone from scratch, he said, because of the greater than 3 years. So it does,
I don't know, I was never notified of. any
whatever
of
the
this.
purchasing department does, that whole thing has to be redone.
We don't want to go through that if we don't have to.
Yeah, give me the old one, so.
I'll send it over to you.
Just so I can read it and go and.
I'm sure I have the old RFQ that you guys issued too. I'll send you that as well.
Okay, anything you can to
Yeah,
keep me up to speed.
yeah, no worries.
I can't write too fast. I gotta be able to read it. Okay, other than that, anybody have anything else?
No, sir.
Motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
6:42.
Here we go.
Anybody watching those Red Sox
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, wow,
last night?
nice.
Little nerve wracking in the ninth inning.
Yeah.
3 straight singles.
I almost gave up on them.
Yeah. Same.
Thank you all.
Bye, thank you very
Thank
much.
Jim, I'll get that stuff sent over to you.
Yeah, send that down to, you're going to send electronically?
Yeah, do an email. You want the personal email or the Gardner email?
Well, I can work both of them,
I'm gonna send them to both and you can,
either way.
sounds good.
I'm having an argument with Mike, I don't know what IMAP means on my email, but I think it's because it's got an old account through my service. And, just a second, I have to shut this off.
Either way, I'll send it to both of them and now